Good afternoon. I'm so excited about having so many junior entrepreneurs and so many GEs bringing new ideas here today. I would like, firstly, to thank Alexi and the whole Jazz team for the opportunity of speaking here. Today, we're going to go through some key principles of B2B sales and how you guys can handle those situations better in a day-to-day basis. I'll go through some real experiences of my current Brazilian background. I was part of a GE in Brazil, now I'm here at Jazz in Switzerland. I've been here in the country for like 8 months now. And I'm going to share some real business cases with you from my Brazilian involvement and how we can extract lessons from each one of them. My name is Thiago. It's very nice to meet you here for the first time at my first ever NMO. And as I said, I have a strong background in sales as a sales manager in a Brazilian GE. I've made all kinds of sales you can possibly imagine. Active prospecting, passive prospecting, big clients, small clients. I was also a project consultant. And in today's agenda, we're going to talk about 3 core practical cases that I went through. The Animals Ranch is the title of the first one. The Cash Flow Lunch is the title of the second one. Then we're going to shortly go through some key principles of the spin selling, which is a very good approach for the sales that a GE in general proposes to do. Then we're going to have some case study in groups. You guys at home received your colors, your respective colors. Then you'll have to meet your teammates to discuss what we're going to bring. In the end, we're going to announce the winner, and the winner gets some chocolates. So, the Animals Ranch. This one was special because it was my first ever sale in the GE movement. I was a commercial manager or a sales manager for a month, and some client approached us. It was very funny because we had a blog. And in this blog, my GE used to create some free content about what we're about our business, about our projects, our field of work, and the client has seen some posts in our blog, and then he reached out to us. It turns out that this client was a very prominent client, and he had his own farm in a very productive region, but the American grow here, for example, is like a farm in the Corn Belt. It's a very productive region in terms of agricultural matters. And he started producing cheese as a hobby, handmade cheese. He would do everything. He would do the extracting of the milk, he would do the salting, he would do the packaging, he would do everything by his own farm and with his own workers and his own team. They were very engaged, and this cheese happened to be awarded in a national scale as the best handmade cheese of the country. So we were very privileged to have these guys as prospects. Now we had to attend their demand. They sought a way of expanding themselves. And what does that mean? They started growing bigger and bigger and bigger, getting more and more clients. But this partner of this farm who produced cheese, they would say, oh my God, we're growing big, we need new workers, we need new ways of matrixizing our performance. And they wanted some guidance in this matter. It turns out that our GE and the content that we posted in our blog at that time was about strategical planning. We would have in our own company a full day that we would rent out a countryside club, for example, to do our own strategical planning for the next year. And with that, we had the expertise, the scope, everything to do a good and solid strategical planning for the next year. That was a perfect project to start with. Also, they wanted a system of KPIs and metrics of how could they measure if they were performing well or not, if they were wasting too much material or not, how could they measure it? You can imagine that a family business who's just starting and they got awarded because of their cheese taste, they don't have that much expertise. They had some partners, and the partners were being important in this history, but how could they do this? They needed a consultant, they needed a solution. How? The solution was a scope of strategical planning that we made, and I proudly adapted for them. It turns out that we had a scope of KPI development, other indicators development, guidelines, mission, values, and I just had to adapt the scope to fit their needs. But how can a company, how can a GE, which is composed mostly, or entirely actually, of students, understand and have a full grasp of how does a business work without being there? They were in the middle of nowhere in a countryside area, and it was very funny because I proposed my GE colleagues and the future project consultants, and also the prospect. I was also almost settling the negotiation that we'd go there personally. And he offered us a stay of 3 days, if I'm not wrong, in his farm, in the hotel of his farm. And our consultants were able to see in a very closed manner how everything was produced, how everything worked. They could extract some milk from the cows, it was funny. They could also witness a goat giving birth, which was a bit bizarre. But it built a point of trust with them. Because he could see our team, he could see that we've come from a well-known university, and yeah, that's it. They spent 3 days there. They made a 3-month-long, 4-month-long strategical planning for them, and it turns out that it was a very good partnership in the end. Now I want to ask you guys, after all I've spoken here, why was this negotiation so? Why? What were the principles? What did go right that we can take as a lesson from it? Does anyone have any suggestion?
Trust.
Exactly. Any point more? Points of trust and university brand, and of course the in-person meeting. The partners of our main client in this situation, they were graduated in the same university as us. And this university in Brazil is actually a national reference in agricultural matters. It's the best one, in agronomy and those types of sciences. It was exactly what he did in his business, and he had almost like a blind trust in us that we would do a good job. So you guys as junior entrepreneurs should use and abuse of the brand of your university. Use and abuse. I can't emphasize this enough because after all I've seen here today, you guys come from really, really great institutions, and this is a really good point for you to use. Listening to the client more than speaking. This is also important because the meetings we would have, he would speak like 80% of the time. 80% of the time he would speak. It was also almost like a therapy session. He would get comfortable with it. And you guys know from your personal experience that in general, one interaction where you speak about yourself, you leave that interaction with a good impression. Because everyone's favorite person in the end is themselves. So that makes a lot of sense. And the natural sense of urgency. I was able to conduct this negotiation in a way that he would feel, he would sense that he needed that project and he needed that negotiation to settle, but without pressuring him. That's what we're going to talk about a little more in front. Now, I want to talk about a second business case, which is a different sale, the cash flow lunch. This was actually officially my last sale. I brought the first one and the last one. My last sale as a sales manager before I've entered the endeavor of coming here to Switzerland. And it was very funny because we had some, as a sales manager, we needed to attend the passive prospection, but we also needed to make a certain amount of calls in a week, of cold calls. A little bit fierce, but also famous. And to do this, but not to do this in a blind manner. So we had there's a very special guy, a friend of mine. He was commercial intelligence manager, and he would drive up for us some personas, some types of business and some types of potential clients that might need each one of our projects. So for example, he would design a profile for a company that needs strategical planning, a type of company that needs cash flow management, a type of company that needs cost analysis, and so on. I called one of these prospects. It was a catering and buffet company in our own city, offering a cash flow management developed by our own GE in VBA and Excel. It was a very good system. And they were like relatively short calls. I would call, I would say about the benefits, most of that classical sales techniques. And he would simply say me if he was interested or not. Turns out that this prospect, after a lot of no's, actually belonged to the job. He was interested, and I went to WhatsApp with him. So does your number have WhatsApp? Yes, it has. And I talked to him in WhatsApp. I made a further call, and we had the idea of recording a video showing the system. All of the functionalities, just like a sales video. But none of the previous years in our junior company had the idea of recording the video with that system. We did this also with other systems, and it went pretty well because it was scalable. We could gain scale with it. It was a cheap product, it was a one-time purchase, and it was relatively cheap. So I sent him the video, does it interest you? Yes. He would agree to talk. But he invited me to his house. He wanted to see me, he wanted to see the program personally, which is fine, because he's a businessman, he wants trust for his business is growing. And I went to his house during lunchtime. It was very funny. His daughter was there, his wife, and I showed him in this PC everything that the system had to show, had to offer, every functionality. I answered to every question. I made simulations with him, and the negotiation was settled. And due to the fact that it was a short sale, it could be settled and closed in shorter meetings and shorter calls and less contact. But you guys can see that those different types of sales require very different kinds of approaches, actually. Why was the sale closed? Do you have any idea of what helped us to sell this first ever scalable product?
The possibility to try the product beforehand.
Very good. Trust again, why not? I went personally to his house, showed my face, brought the system, gave him the opportunity of trying, and it was also relatively cheap because the intention of a scalable product is not necessarily the profit in the sale itself, but on the scalability, of course. And that was our intention, and it stays also as idea for your own cheese. Well, quickly added, exactly. Now, we're going to talk about the spin approach. This is actually a very classical approach in B2B sales. I recommended the book in the US last week, and this actually awoke the idea of bringing it here to the workshop. And this is a very special approach because it considers that a sale, a major sale, which is the sale that a GE does, requires another type of approach that we usually don't see in classical sales trainings. What does SPIN stand for? SPIN is actually a code for situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. Those are 4 stages and 4 types of questions you have to ask your prospect before sending a proposal or an official partnership or official sale proposal to him. Situation questions. They serve to see the situation of your client, obviously, but you want to see how does he feel about the problem he has. You want to see his situation, and you want to examine later on, after the sales call, how can you help? Most of the sales that a GE does, and you guys know this well, they are not closed in a single call, and most of it is actually resolved when you guys are not talking to the client. It is spoken afterwards between the managers, between the decisors, and then they agree on hiring the GE. And an example for that would be, for example, how do you currently organize your cash flow management? Then he would speak. Another example for that would be, how does your business model work? Do you have any strategy in the case of the farm, for example? Do you have any strategy to grow? Do you have any indicator to follow? How is your waste rate, for example? The problem questions. The problem questions are also interesting because they precise the problem, they describe the problem more precisely. And to do this, actually, you're going to ask him questions, you're going to let him speak about what is the point of pain. You need to localize the points of pain in your client. One example for that is that, are there any current KPI system that you use? Are there any current problem going on with the cash flow management? Have you experienced some accounting error at the end of the month? So those types of questions identify the problem and identify the point of pain. The implication question, on the other hand, serves as a way, perhaps, to see what are the consequences of that problem. How does he feel about it? How does that problem affect his business? And how does it, in a future point, won't be able anymore to get things done? And you need to create the urgency in a natural manner. At the end, we have the payoff questions. And the payoff questions serve as a positive outcome. And then, would a strategical planning of the GE Freiburg, for example, help you in this manner? Would a project that we already did this with a previous client or of a similar sector help you in this issue? You need to connect your solutions to their goals and connect what you have to offer to what is their problem. This happens, of course, in the meetings and the sales calls, but you need to leave an impression. You need to give hints of what your business does without talking too much and without pressuring him too much. Yes. Now we're going to do a case study with every one of you. You guys were divided with colors. I want you guys, please, to meet your teams, to have the same color as you.
Do I keep it?
You can stop it.
Stop it.
So, after a voting between the jazz team, and I would like to emphasize that Alexis didn't take a vote. We decided that the red group won. The intention of this workshop and most of this case study, it was actually to put some difficulties and put some trouble that the client states, and that you have to work under pressure to overcome them. This happens mostly in business meetings and in sales meetings because the client puts their trouble and you're not expecting it and you have to handle it during the meeting time. You guys had 15 minutes to think about something, think about questions that could engage him. And I would just like to pick 2 questions here from group 2 that they did really well. The need payoff one, for example, what kind of community are you envisioning for your brand? This is a very good question because it really drives how you're going to develop the customer loyalty program. And what are the key elements that you want to maintain or to develop? This is a very good question because it makes the client speak. He speaks about his business model, he speaks about the problems, he speaks about what's going right, what's going wrong. So you guys did really well. Congratulations. And yes, before you can grab your chocolates, I wanted to have a short word here. Is that usually in the Spider-Man movies, it's said that with great power comes also great responsibility. This is a famous quote of Spider-Man. But in the sales scenario, where you're under pressure, you need to bring results, you need to bring revenue, you need to bring money for your company, you're under pressure, and you have a great responsibility. But if there's one message that I want you to hold in your hearts today is, meanwhile, with great power comes also great responsibility, but on the other hand, with great responsibility comes also great power. Thank you very much.